The Audie Murphy riddle has been solved, and it's not good. On June 20, 1925 in Kingston, Texas, Audie Leon Murphy came into this world. Murphy was the seventh of EMTT and Josie Bell's 12 children. Murphy, whose family was a sharecropper who struggled mightily throughout the Great Depression. When Audie was a little boy, his father left the family. His mother passed away when he was 16. Because he was an orphan and had only completed 5th grade, Murphy had little choice but to drop out of school and work odd jobs to help feed his younger siblings. A feeling of duty, tenacity, and toughness that would characterize his adult life were qualities he inherited from his early years of adversity. When the Navy and Marine Corps turned Murphy down because he was underweight and too little, he decided to join the U.S. Army instead. This was in 1942. He was an improbable contender for valor on the battlefield, being only 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighing little more than 110 pounds. Nevertheless, his towering size concealed his remarkable bravery and ability to guide. Murphy served honorably in several conflicts throughout what in Italy, France, Germany, and North Africa. He became famous for his daring tactical genius and unwavering commitment to his fellow troops extremely fast. Murphy, injured and outgunned, held off a whole company of Germans for more than an hour on January 26, 1945, close to Holzera, France. As he ascended the blazing tank destroyer, he unleashed a barrage of enemy soldiers with its .50 caliber machine gun while simultaneously ordering artillery strikes. He was only 19 years old when he received the Medal of Honor, the highest military honor in the United States, for this incredible act of bravery. 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, the Bronze Star, and the Distinguished Service Cross were among Murphy's many decorations for heroism bestowed by the United States throughout the war. After he had difficulties in his career in Hollywood and gained 33 decorations and awards from the U.S. and Allies, making him the most decorated American soldier of the war. The mental wounds of war were too much for Murphy to bear when he returned home as a national hero. What was once known as combat fatigue is now known as post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), and he was afflicted with it. Regardless of his personal struggles, he became one of the first prominent persons to openly discuss the emotional toll of war, using his popularity to bring attention to veterans' difficulties and the need for mental health treatment. After establishing himself as a successful performer in New York, Murphy made the leap to Hollywood. The biographical war picture To Hell and Back 1955, which was based on his memoir of the same name, was the most famous of his 40-plus film appearances. Murphy recreated his experiences throughout the war on film in an extraordinary and moving performance, playing the role of himself. The film's success at the box office solidified his reputation as an actor and a hero of the war. Murphy never considered himself a great actor, despite his frequent appearances in westerns and war plays. Like his entire life, his approach to performing was one of humility. In his spare time, he composed music, composing country and western tunes that became hits with legends like Dean Martin and Charley Pride. In the 1957 classic western Night Passage, co-starring with the late great James Stewart and Dan Durrier, the then-rising star Murphy scored a memorable role as the Utica youngster. At the time, the western genre was enthralling viewers, and this picture was a watershed moment in Murphy's career, demonstrating his ability to hold his own with A-list Hollywood actors. For Murphy, 1959 was a year of unprecedented output and personal growth. His acting chops were on full display in 3 separate westerns, each of which wowed audiences in its own special way. Murphy and Sandra Dee, who played opposite each other in The Wild and the Innocent, brought new life to the story of innocence encountering the environment through their compelling on-screen chemistry. As an uncredited co-producer on the stark black-and-white drama Cast Along Shadow, alongside his acting, Murphy collaborated with the famous Walter Mirisch, a partnership that showcased his expanding influence in Hollywood beyond just acting. Critics paid utmost attention to Murphy in Noami on the Bullet, a taut and thrilling picture in which he played a hired killer. Critics lauded the film for its evocative storytelling and Murphy for his multi-layered emotional performance, which cemented his place as a captivating and adaptable Western star. Murphy was gifted in more ways than just acting on TV. In 1960, he also wowed TV viewers in an episode of StarTime called The Man, which included the great Thelma Ritter. This appearance further increased Murphy's popularity by showcasing his charisma and ease in the new medium of television. In the early 1960s, Murphy put his acting career on hold to lend his time, talent, and star power to the U.S. Army's The Big Picture TV series, demonstrating his civic duty and patriotism. He was a reliable representative of the military's public relations initiatives for 3 episodes. The Distinguished Outstanding Civilian Service Medal, bestowed upon him in 1960, was a testament to his unwavering commitment. In the standout episode Broken Bridge, Murphy showcased state-of-the-art military equipment and weaponry while touring military locations in Germany, Italy, Turkey, and the American Southwest in New Mexico. This allowed the show to merge entertainment with real-world relevance. This was the golden age of Murphy's creative partnerships, particularly with writer Claire Huffer, who wrote the scripts for Murphy's two 1961 feature pictures, Poesy from Hell and 7 Ways from Sundown. Collaborating with gifted screenwriters who created stories that were tailor-made for Murphy's rough-and-tumble yet subtle approach, these productions cemented Murphy's position as a major player in Western cinema. Willard W. Willingham and Mary Willingham, who were Murphy's close friends during his early days in Hollywood, formed another significant relationship. Their powerful professional chemistry was on full display as they tackled a number of projects together. Willard was involved in both the production and screenwriting of Murphy's 1961 TV series Whispering Smith and the action-packed Battle at Bloody Beach, which he co-wrote that same year. They kept working together throughout the mid-1960s, releasing albums like Bullet for a Bad Man 1964, two westerns that solidified Murphy's place in cinematic history. The screenplay for Gunpoint and Murphy's last leading role in a western, 40 Guns to Apache Pass, were both written by the Willinghams in 1967. Even beyond the United States, Murphy broadened his horizons by shooting Trunk to Cairo in Israel in 1966, demonstrating his eagerness to tackle varied and difficult parts in non-traditional contexts. The unlikely meeting between Murphy and filmmaker Bud Bodisher, which took place at a boxing gym, was a watershed moment in Murphy's career. At Terry Hunt's gym, Murphy had asked to box with Bodker, a chance meeting that began a nearly 20-year creative collaboration. Because of this, Murphy was cast as the lead in the 1951 western The Cimarron Kid, which was directed by Barraker and set the stage for subsequent collaborations between the two filmmakers. A Time for Dying, Murphy's final feature, was penned by Bicker in 1969 and served as a moving conclusion to their lengthy working partnership. Their closeness persisted throughout. Even though they were supposed to work together on 2 more films, When There's Something to Do and Orse for Mr. Barnum, fans will never know what may have been if the two had persisted with their creative vision for these flicks, because they were never produced. Like his life away from the battlefield, Audie Murphy's personal life was full of ups and downs. He tied the knot with actress Wanda Hendress in 1949. Wanda was a famous Hollywood actress who had a busy 1940s and 1950s film career. Both Murphy's meteoric rise to prominence as one of the most decorated American combat warriors of Wealth II's and Wanda's burgeoning Hollywood reputation contributed to the heavy media coverage of their marriage. There were several obstacles in their union, despite their prominent position. Over time, their marriage became strained due to Murphy's persistent issues with post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) as a result of his wartime experiences, the pressures of Hollywood life, and the inherent difficulties of managing a public relationship. Official dissolution of their marriage occurred in 1951 after 2 years of trying to save their relationship. An emotionally charged and publicly scrutinized chapter had come to a close with this. Amazingly, Murphy wedded only 4 days following the finalization of his divorce from Wanda Hendricks. In stark contrast to the glitz and instability of Murphy's first marriage, his second marriage to Pamela Opal Lee Archer, a former flight attendant known for her level head and practical nature, was smooth sailing. The rapidity with which Murphy sought stability and a family life following his divorce and the decision to marry Pamela and Audie after such a short courtship revealed the intensity with which he was fighting his own personal demons. Murphy found much-needed normalcy and support in Pamela's presence. Audie Murphy's late life was shaped by the family he and Pamela Opal Lee Archer had together. Terry Michael and James Shannon were their sons. Terry Michael Murphy continued his family's legacy in Hollywood after his birth in 1952. He became famous for his own efforts in the entertainment industry. Their younger son, James Shannon Murphy, was born a few years after his father and likewise grew up with the shadow of his extraordinary life's legacy hanging over him. As children, both boys knew the weight of their father's tremendous achievements and the sacrifices he made for them. After a shorter marriage, Audie found more joy and support from his family in his second marriage to Pamela. Pamela was more than just Murphy's wife, she played an integral part in his life. As a trusted confidante, she assisted him in coping with the tremendous demands of celebrity, trauma, and public scrutiny. Family was a stabilizing factor for Audie, even though he endured numerous hardships such as emotional wounds from the war and severe discomfort. Murphy felt a measure of calm and regularity brought about by the presence of his sons and the relatively stable nature of his marriage to Pamela, in stark contrast to his earlier years. One of the most decorated American soldiers of Wet'suwit'en and a legendary Hollywood actor, Audie Murphy's death has been a mystery for decades and many questions remain unsolved. It is well known that Murphy rose from the life of a poor Texas farm boy to that of a great combat hero. His admirers, relatives, and fellow historians have all been trying to piece together what transpired on the day of his death for quite some time. There is now a conclusive explanation thanks to fresh evidence and investigative discoveries. Unfortunately, the reality is far more sinister and disturbing than anybody had anticipated. The official account of Audie Murphy's demise was simple for a long time. Tragically, Murphy lost his life in an aircraft crash in Catawba, Virginia on May 28, 1971. As they flew low over rugged terrain in terrible weather, the private plane he was on, a small twin-engine Aero Commander, went down. According to official accounts, pilot mistake and inadequate visibility caused the crash. An unlucky accident claimed the life of a national icon at the young age of 45. But rumors and suspicions spread like wildfire, driven by murmurs about mysterious characters who may have sought to have Murphy silenced, as well as by his troubled personal life and post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) from the war. Conspiracies have grown in popularity throughout the years. Since Murphy was said to have known secret information while working in Hollywood and had connections with government leaders, some speculated that intelligence organizations may have arranged the crash. Others hypothesized that Murphy had been the victim of organized crime or that his enemies were seeking vengeance over his private business transactions. A number of crucial aspects of the disaster were left unexplained, which led to the rise of these ideas. What caused the jet to fly so low into perilous terrain, why the pilot's accounts differ, and why important pieces of wreckage are missing from the scene of the accident. These unanswered questions persisted for a long time. The family insisted on the story of a tragic accident and strongly denied any evidence of foul play. Nevertheless, the truth remained enticingly elusive due to the lack of tangible proof. The combat hero Murphy's reputation was clouded by the mystery, which made many question whether his life ended in tragedy or something more sinister. The recent reinvestigation of the crash by a team of independent investigators using current forensic technologies to analyze wreckage fragments, flight data, and weather reports was driven by breakthroughs in forensic technology and the availability of declassified government papers. Worrying new evidence suggests intentional sabotage rather than accidental damage, which they uncovered. There was signs of sabotage, including wiring that had been cut or rerouted, and interference with the aircraft's control systems. Also, additional interviews with retired authorities and witnesses who had previously remained silent have come to light, indicating that Murphy had been under surveillance in the months leading up to the tragedy. Murphy was a burden to some powerful groups because, according to one whistleblower who decided to come forward after decades of silence, he had discovered vital knowledge about clandestine government operations. In his testimony, this whistleblower detailed a terrifying cover-up that aimed to silence Murphy indefinitely by making his death appear like a sad accident. The implications of these discoveries are rather disturbing. Despite his legendary bravery in battle, Audie Murphy seems to have been betrayed by those who want to have him erased from history during peacetime. A chilling truth of plotting, treachery, and premeditated brutality has emerged from the mystery that was formerly portrayed as a tragic accident. The tragic reality casts a shadow over Murphy's dying moments, shattering the illusion of a heroic figure betrayed by fate and casting him instead as a man entangled in a dangerous web of political intrigue. Also, Murphy's loved ones have felt the effects. They battled loss and confusion for a long time. Now that they know foul play was involved, they want justice for the patriot who gave his life for his nation and a public investigation into the matter, just to have the opposite done to them. Military analysts and historians are re-examining Murphy's legacy, trying to make sense of the new information in the context of Cold War America, the connections between Hollywood and government organizations, and the hidden risks that prominent people faced when they crossed boundaries. Instead of giving calm and closure, the final answer to the Audie Murphy mystery exposes a Pandora's box of disturbing issues about power, betrayal, and trust. What was initially perceived as a tragic but uncomplicated accident has now been exposed as a somber reminder that even heroes can fall prey to evil forces outside of warfare. While the exact circumstances of Audie Murphy's death will likely remain a mystery, the disturbing truth that has recently surfaced puts a damper on his heroic legacy, and it's far from positive.